It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Lucien, I hope you have had a fantastic week, and I hope that this year is bringing you all a much better perspective than I think a lot of us had in 2017. I don't know about all of you, but 17 was a rough year for me. So it does seem like things are moving forward. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, so I don't want to spend a lot of time like I usually do with the astrology and all of that. If I want to jump in, I have Stephen Roberts and I have Ed Opperman on with me tonight. And so welcome to both of you. Ed, I would like to jump right into talking about some of the things that you have been talking about with other people. But I think I have a little different twist.
Okay.
Maybe. Because, I mean, you know, I'm crazy. So I have a tendency to look a little further outside the box, maybe even not anywhere near around the box. And after I had heard different things about Trump, I did my own research and started doing into things. And all of a sudden, there was so much that came up. So if you don't mind, can we just jump right into what you have going on right away?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm ready to jump. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
I'll put my sneakers on. I'm ready to jump. Okay.
Let's do it. So you had said something to me about the Trump porn. Yeah, and it's so funny because I hadn't really heard much. I've been very disconnected. I think I had told you, and maybe the listeners know that I have gone back to school. I'm actually going back and accomplishing, I don't know exactly what yet, but attempting to get into the federal side of things and maybe make some changes on the inside. I don't get swallowed first. Anyway, so I've been disconnected. So please fill me in.
You know, it's funny because I was planning on going back to school too. But they told me I would have to start at preschool. and then kindergarten and then through the whole grammar school. Okay, what's going on here? Let's see. First of all, I want to say that now I'm a private investigator, right? And normally,
I should have given you I just assume that everybody on the planet knows who you are.
No, they don't. No, I can guarantee you that.
I'm sorry. I guess I just assumed that. So, Ed, yes, please give a brief introduction. I know I've had you on before. I know you have your own show, but yeah, if you don't mind, please give a brief introduction so that people know where you're coming up with this.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Where I'm coming from with all this. I'm a private investigator and a digital forensic investigator, and I also host a radio show, my own show that I have, a little show, and normally, you know, when you're, and Sherris a lawyer, so I don't know how often you hire investigators in your work, but normally I won't talk about clients or even if someone will say to me, hey, is so-and-so your client? I'll say, well, no, I have no comment on that. I can't even confirm or deny they are my client or not. Now, in this certain situation here, sometimes the cases I did involve people in the media where they want publicity and it's all done for publicity and for the media and stuff like that. So years ago, I got involved with some cases, the Tiger Woods case, where all these women were coming forward and they were saying that they were dating Tiger Woods. A big Tiger Woods scandal came out. It was my job to vet these women out and decide who was a Tiger Woods mistress and who wasn't. After that, I was involved in a case with Ashton Kutcher. Then there was something with the Wienergate. I was involved with the Wienergate. A lot of different stuff. Charlie Sheen, a lot of different cases that were for the media. And my client in that case, in all those cases, is a woman named Gina Rodriguez. And you can Google Ed Opperman, Gina Rodriguez. You can see all the stuff we've been involved in together. Also, in many of those cases, the attorney was Keith Davidson, who is an excellent attorney out there in California. He's an entertainment law, a lot of personal injury law, stuff like that. Whenever I have a client that has a problem like that, he's my go-to guy. He's the guy I go to first. I refer my client to Keith Davidson because he's an excellent attorney. Now, what it turns out is The attorney and the agent in this Stormy Daniels case happens to be Gina Rodriguez and Keith Davidson.
Oh,
Okay. Now, I've been talking about this for 2 years. I've been talking about this. I've been telling people about this, that this porn star came forward back in July of 2016. This porn star was running around. She had pictures of, and this is stuff that's not even reported in the news. You're not going to find what I'm telling you in the news because it's not in the news yet. And I'm kind of, I'm pretty much telling the story for the first time here with Sherry. Okay. Yeah. I haven't been talking about this as much as I should be. But I think some good can come out of this. And maybe I'll talk. And there's things about this that I absolutely cannot talk about. There's whole multi-levels to this that I can't talk about whatsoever. But here's what I can tell you. July 2016, it came to my attention that there was a porn star who had photographs of herself on Trump's plane. Okay. And she was trying to peddle this story around and sell her photos and her relationship with Trump. But the tabloids were acting as a gatekeeper. When she would go to different tabloids and try and sell her pictures and her story to them, instead of them taking the deal, they would go to Trump and warn him and tell him what was going on.
okay.
Right. But I knew this story existed, and I knew there was someone out there. And it wasn't even because of this. It was because of a whole nother thing that is far more serious and far more intense than this. That's in the background of this. That hasn't come out yet. See, we really have a chance here. Got a foothold that if we can get congressional hearings on this incident here with this porn star and this payoff and this bribery, it pretty much is a hush money deal. Let's face it. It could be described as that. And I believe this $130,000 was just a one-time, there were going to be recurring payments. I know the people involved, they don't work for this kind of money. They work for a lot of money. These are big cases they take. I know some
$1,000, as much as that to the average person seems like a lot of money, that's pretty minimal for a case this size. That's pretty minimal.
Yeah. A similar case against Charlie Sheen netted $3 million. Okay. So I know, exactly. I know that more money. I wouldn't go to them with a deal for $130 million. I would say that, well, they're not going to take it. So my thinking is either this was a quarterly payment or a yearly payment, which happens a lot of times too. Rachel Yucatel took a yearly payment. She had a 10-year deal where she got payments. I think it was either $250,000 or $500,000, but it was paid out over 10 years. And she got an annuity was her deal. So that,
sure. Right. Yeah, and the courts can do that, or their attorneys can make those kind of adjustments. But do you think that, okay, so I'm going to throw out there what I heard, and then I want you to just tear this up or whatever it is, because after I mentioned something to a friend of mine, who I'm not going to mention because she'd die if I did, she said, yeah, I heard that the porn star didn't have legs.
That she has no legs, or the story doesn't have legs?
But the actual porn star does not like that. She was cut off legs down, waist down.
Oh no! There might be another one that nobody knows about it, and I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. I know for a fact there's other stories out there that are being hushed up and aren't being pursued. The thing is, though, in this situation, we really have a foothold. We have an opportunity. If this winds up in congressional hearings, not just to investigate this case, but a lot of stuff can come out. Stuff about Charlie Sheen, stuff about Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, stuff about Wienergate, because there's a thread that runs through this whole thing. And if they could bring in the right guy to testify before Congress and he starts shooting off his mouth, we can get a lot of stuff out there.
You really think they're going to let that happen? I believe, and I've stated lots of times, that this will be the year that all is revealed. But when I say that, I also have to take into consideration the society they live in. Are they actually revealing, or are they just giving us the pieces that they want us to have to take them off the track of where they're actually going?
Well, if you look at Kevin Spacey, okay, fine. When the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out, they jumped up and they put Kevin Spacey on the front page and exposed him. But Kevin Spacey was on the plane. He was on Epstein's plane with Bill Clinton and Chris Tucker. And Chris Tucker has his own problems because he was the one with, he was flying around Michael Jackson's kid, on his plane.
They're just, it seemed like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're being selective. Yes, they're revealing, but they're only revealing who and what they want.
Yeah, they're not talking about Epstein, and there's definitely an Epstein connection to this. And I'm probably one of the only people that know that. There's an Epstein connection to this, and they don't talk about Epstein. And I know for a fact that Mossad's interference for Epstein. I know that personally. And what I can also tell you too is that Epstein could be CIA as well, and maybe that's why they're not.
And that's. But see, doesn't that, okay, so here's my question about it. I feel like I'm in a movie so many times because it's almost like you find out, or it seems like you're finding out, you think this guy's a real douchebag, whatever, and then you find out he's actually working from the other side trying to bust these people. But it's really true. I mean, that's his goal. Trump has brought so much chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that this whole Hollywood time, with the indictments and everything, the sealed indictments and everything that's happened, I don't see I don't see Hollywood shutting down.
Okay.
I don't see a lack of movies.
The so-called sealed indictments, there's absolutely nothing to indicate that these, first of all, that they're even all indictments. Okay, there's a sealed filings. We don't know what they are. They're not all indictments, sure. But there's nothing whatsoever to indicate that they have anything to do with human trafficking or any kind of pedophilia or anything whatsoever close to that. Mike, and so anybody's guess what they are. And if I had a guess, I would say it had something to do with a gang and illegal immigration. That they're probably illegal Mexican street gangs that they're going after and filing these search warrants. We don't know what these.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know what they are. Okay.
It just seemed weird that it came out, and I get it. And maybe it was just the impression, like you're saying, maybe it was just, what they wanted people to think was that these indictments did actually have something to do with the trafficking and that there was going to be a grand exposure. Yeah,
right. And it's all foolishness. And it all came from this Liz Cronkite, who wrote that ridiculous article about 1,400 pedophile arrests in the first 2 months of Trump's presidency, which I've looked into this. I've talked to the cops who ran that operation. And it was a several-year operation, went on for 3 years before Trump was even running for president. And it has nothing to do with Trump whatsoever. And so it's a lot of bogus disinfo coming out from the Trump camp with this fantasy that sometimes it's how the guy is anti-pedophilia. There's nothing to indicate. I can't think of a person on the face of the earth who is friends with more pedophiles and rapists than Donald Trump. He's friends with Epstein. He's with Weinstein. He's friends with Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson. The list goes on forever. There's no one as more rapist buddies than Donald Trump.
So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm going with this, is it seems like you're saying, he puts out stuff saying, kind of insinuating whether it was said or not, that Trump is responsible for all of these pedophilia rings being revealed, that all of these indictments, all of it to do with Trump setting up, when you're right, he's probably behind a majority of the trafficking and all these other things. You don't get rich and you don't stay in those circles without being a part of it.
Yeah, well, we know his relationship with Epstein, and we know that Epstein, and this is something you hear Cronkite and her pals talk about, is that Epstein's main victim, the one who, Virginia Roberts, who really started the whole snowball of lawsuits against Epstein, worked for Trump. When she was a little kid, 15 years old, she worked at Mar-a-Lago in folding towels in his locker room, and that's where she was targeted by Ghislaine Maxwell, and that's where she was turned over to Jeffrey Epstein, Trump's pal. There's no way you could tell me Trump to know about this little girl working in his a locker room down there, and then he was turned over to one of the most notorious. There's no way to tell me that, because if you look at the lawsuits where Trump was sued by a golf club in California, one of the complaints against him was that before he would come and visit the golf course, they would have to see who was on duty that day, because Trump would look at every woman who worked in the building there and complain if they weren't attractive enough. And he would say, how could he have these ugly women working here? Now, he lives at Mar-a-Lago. You're trying to tell me he doesn't check out every single girl that works in that place? We know what kind of pervert this guy is. Just what he says about his own mouth from the Team USA passion. And all the gossip that's going on about this guy in New York for years and years and years. His talk, the stuff he says himself about what he witnessed in Studio 54, seeing supermodels on a bench having sex with 7 men at a time. That's a quote right out of Donald Trump's mouth. I'm not putting it in his mouth. And then you have his friendship with Roy Cohen, and ex-PD mayor up there in Minnesota, Jim Ronson, who was investigating Roy Cohen for having little boys buried on his Connecticut property, having sex with little boys and burying them on his property up there in Connecticut. So that's Trump's guy. He just said recently, "Where's my Roy Cohen?"
No, it's so crazy that I actually saw that, and I guess what's flipping me out every time I watch you, I was flipped out because it's just like everything that I think is going on. It's almost like it's a combination of chaos and the distraction. My question, I guess, is you were a big fan of, I'm sorry, I all of a sudden am drawing a blank. The president that ran against Trump and Hillary.
Yeah, Bernie, yeah.
Yes, okay, so Bernie Sanders, sorry.
Not a big fan, but I'm a fan, okay.
Okay, a fan. You felt maybe that he was better than the rest, or there was something that you seem to in the conversations that I heard, you at least were not. You thought he was going to be okay or something, and then where I found out a lot about what actually happened to him was from one of your shows that you did, talking about how he was taken, pretty much behind the scene and roughed up, and they had threatened his family, and there was a lot of things that were involved.
Right.
So my question comes to now, we're in the situation we are. We've got Trump as the president. Now what do we do, Ed?
Oh, that's a great question. I
mean, seriously, because this is a situation that is, you're talking about, everybody, if you're religious, this is the end of times. If you're not, it's still the showing is there that our society has been taken over by something that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, we gotta be careful, okay? Because Trump is competent, he's a con man, he's a pervert, and we know all this. Right? He's a criminal, he's a crook. I knew he would never withstand the kind of scrutiny that he's under right now. It's just impossible. And I predict he's going to wind in prison. But we got to be careful because a lot of this stuff, and I know for a fact that a lot of this stuff is anti-Trump opposition. Is CIA, okay? And people who have contacted my show trying to get stories on my show, this could be legit. They got a CIA background, and even if they don't tell me, just tell me. Just
right.
Yeah. So,
and what does that mean to you? Because I get it, but tell the listener what that means.
What it means is what I'm trying to say though is you've got to be careful that the plan is to put a job there like Trump and then oust him and put in a military government. Because right now Trump is surrounded by generals, but the White House is run by generals and army people right now. So we got to be careful about this. They're not supposed to get rid of Trump, the devil we know, because that's going to be no better. And if this group of generals around Trump are no better either.
But do you think it's weird who he's brought? Okay, when he first started assigning the cabinet, all that, everybody was like, yeah. But I could see where it was coming from because in most cases, what he was doing is he was pulling the people that were actually running the show, that were in charge of those strings. He was just pulling them forward. Now it seems like he is surrounding himself, but it's almost like he's surrounding himself with people that could be his enemies just as easy as his allies.
Right. It doesn't seem like Kelly has much respect for him, and is running around pretty much saying that he's running the White House, and some people believe he is. Yeah.
Be realistic. I mean, any guy that walks around talking about some woman's pussy on national television, he can't be the brightest bulb. I mean, regardless of whether he thinks that the fact that he will come out of his mouth as the president, right there should show everyone on the planet what his mentality and his IQ is.
Well, he wasn't actually president when he said that, but a couple things to consider with that whole story is, first of all, the guy with him who was taking him on was Billy Bush, who was a cousin of the Bushes. You know what I mean? So that CIA apple doesn't too far from that CIA tree.
Well, and that could be, you're right. We really don't know.
Well, wait, you want to hear another one? I don't know if I ever told this story to you, but on the day of I was just talking with Nita Broderick about this, who's in town right now, by the way. She's here in Vegas today at Memorial Park, Veterans Memorial Park. You can go see her today now in Vegas if you want to come down. Is that the day of there was the one, I think it was October 19th. It was like the second debate. And this is the one where Trump put out Nita Broderick and Paula Jones and Kathleen Willey and all these people. That day, I got a phone call. I don't know if I told you this. I got a phone call from a guy who just got off the phone with Roger Stone. And he tells me, Ed, Roger Stone wants Kathy O'Brien's contact information. I want Kathy O'Brien's phone number and email. Can you give it to us? We're trying to get a hold of her. And I said, okay, I'll give it to you. Now, out of the blue, he blurts out that they suspect that it was Kellyanne Conway who released the Access Hollywood tape because she's CIA. Yeah, I know. And she came at Ted Cruz. She could have a CIA background. But that's what was going on that day.
Oh, my God.
That's what was going on that day. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know what to say, man. But what's going on in their heads, man. I don't know.
It's just, doesn't it seem like a movie? I'm sorry. I live, I keep myself very sheltered, I suppose, because of my beliefs and because of the way that I do practice magic and all those things. It's not really society acceptable. But it seems like the whole world is kind of going insane. Up the channel, there's a bombing. It was a bomb. It didn't work right. It did something wrong. Just out. Like, what the? Who did that?
No, I hear you, man. Don't forget, I looked at the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay shooting took place, so I side with you. And also, too, you talk about how things are going crazy. There's this video going around on YouTube and Facebook of the security guard shooting these two teenagers in a convenience store, and everybody's just goofing it up. Oh, whatever. Like it's just like something normal to see some guy shoot two teenagers. By the way, too, if that was a cop who shot these teenagers, everybody would be in uproar because it's a black security guard. He's a hero and a good Samaritan, quote unquote. And it's just we live in a crazy time. I'm 55 years old. I don't know how old you are, but it's like no other time in my life have I ever seen anything. So people just being so heartless and just so extreme.
Yes, and so this got me to the whole. Excuse me. And this may be too much. It is just no. Mind control.
Yeah.
And the technology, I was told by a whistleblower, somebody that is involved with NASA, that basically the year 2017 or 2018, they are doing huge random experimental, blah, 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 on, but it is that whatever frequency, whatever machine, whatever they're trying to do into a certain amount of population and affect their emotions. Not just their, like, making them angry, making them sad, depressed, making them happy. Literally puppeting groups, massive groups at a time. Have you ever heard of anything like that? What do you know about stuff like that?
Well, I haven't heard that specific story, but obviously they do these experiments, stuff like that. They've been doing forever. LSD down in the subways back in the 70s and stuff. We know they've been doing this stuff. So there's no that they're doing it. And there's no deny too that the U.S. military dabbles in witchcraft and Satanism and occult as well, and they use it as a tool of war. They just look what went on in the Phoenix program. There's just no doubt. So,
you don't want to hear that because, when you start talking about witchcraft, people start, they're like, oh, that's just too far. If people don't get a grip on what has been taken out of our society and used against them, we're just going to keep going down this hole. Don't you think? Does that make me sound a little too crazy?
Well, you always sound a little crazy.
Thank you.
I just get it.
I don't want to be normal. This whole society, I grew up in magic. So to me, it's not, I can't get my mind around how people can't see it.
Well, you have no concern about what the Bible says about gambling and all the cults and witchcraft and stuff like that?
I think that's a manipulation. I think that, I truly believe that Jesus was a druid. I'm sorry. I know that really offends a lot of people, but Jesus was practicing and did magic. And the reason that he was doing that was to show people, it wasn't that he was trying to show off. It wasn't that he was of the dark side. He was trying to show people what we are capable of if we are pure-hearted and connect with the power source, connect with the earth, be like a decent freaking human being, and things can shift and you can miss the universe. I don't know.
Well, then what was all that stuff about, the last sacrifice and the atonement for sin and, all that?
Yes, I jump in. To me, it almost makes me cry because I feel like that's where the manipulation, basically what I feel like they did is, and this is from a female crazy point of view, so everybody just take it for what it is. They came in and took out the feminine. They basically made with the Bible instead of, with Christ and showing how he was involved in relationships, did have children, did all these things. And anyway, they made it this masculine, dominant society so that the man would disappear. And not just women, but I mean, the whole feminine, it's not just the idea of male and female. It's like the harshness, the rape culture, all those things, that's not motherly. They have no mother. Anyway, I feel like that.
You sound like a witch.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is that, I have 3 daughters.
Okay.
And I am rearing them the same. And so my oldest daughter, who's in her late 20s, she does practice magic, but on top of that, she grows her own food. She's vegan. She is contributing to society on a daily basis. And it's not yay me, it's yay her. It's like we lost that.
Well, just interrupt you for a second. I'm vegan, my daughter's vegan. And that's fact. I'm perfecting the perfect vegan pizza. Vegan pizza.
Well, good. Okay, well, I want to hear how that goes and then send me ready.
Oh, no. Yeah, let me tell you, it's really getting good. Okay, I'm a good cook. I'm a really good cook. And we're getting started on this pizza cake. And I'm going to cook with something good. But, I'm vegan, my daughter's vegan, both fish. And, there are these gifts, miraculous gifts that they have in the Bible, the gifts of the Holy Spirit of healing and peace.
Absolutely.
So then what's wrong with that? Why wouldn't it add anything to it?
I'm not anti-Christian.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I have this whole, so I hope this doesn't offend you anyway.
Okay.
I call Christ jelly bean. Honestly, it's because of I feel like what happened is that when whatever came in and took over and tried to destroy a certain side of things, that they gave these Christs a label that was in some ways really good, in some ways really bad. And so take label away from the being that I feel that I walk with, I call him jelly bean. And go ahead.
Christ means anointed. It's not the same. It's Jesus, right. The anointed one, yeah.
Well, and yes, but it also, it's not about it's the word itself. Words are bells to me. And so they change the frequency of a lot of different words. It's like when they say in the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth, that was the original meaning meek, which is actually the holder of reins. It's the person sitting who's holding the reins of the carriage. Right? So
yeah, I've done a whole study on that as well. And there's one which says that they shall see God. Whoever see God, that's spiritual eyesight. Doesn't mean they actually physically see God. That's all you.
And that's where, so I feel that was took out the parts of the Bible that have to be deciphered by each person, because it's within them. It's within us. It's part of what Christ was trying to say to us. And so it's not that I'm anti-Christ. It's that I'm anti-religion.
Well, you don't want to be anti-Christ because he loses at the end. But the thing is, so you don't want to be the antichrist. But anyway, don't you think Obama's the antichrist?
Well, I'll tell you, yeah. I started to wonder about Trump himself.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. The pastor of my church, and it was a mostly black church too. It's funny. It's the neighborhood turns are mostly Hispanic and black. And he was saying one time about how, this is when Obama was running president. He says, it was a lot of signs that Obama could be the antichrist. He didn't mean literally, he could, but the signs are there. They could possibly be, and so then later on he was trying to, correct what he was trying to say because it caused a little upset in the church. And then he was talking about O.J. Simpson. And I said to the guy, so he's saying O.J.'s the antichrist. I mean, it had to be.
Oh, no, I get it. Yeah. And that's funny. I mean, I guess, do we really, I guess here's my other question about religion and about politics and about all these things. How much as a society, the average Joe Schmo, how much do you think they really know? We really know.
You know what? Right now, we're in a really bad place because there's so much fake news out there on both sides. It's just ridiculous. that you got to spend a lot of time looking at all this and seeing the sources behind these stories.
Well, it seems like that I can jump down a rabbit hole almost, and then by the end of it, be like, "What the fuck? It was all bullshit." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it looks not just a surface. I mean, even as you're digging, you're like, okay, and then all of a sudden, you like the whole thing unravels in your lap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been talking about this for a few years now. Like fake news stories that go out, and it started out, if you remember, with these email forwards, and it would say, Bill Cosby gave this commencement speech at his college, and he said, hey, pull up your pants, do this. And it would be all fake, and you'd tell people, hey, that's a fake story. Look, it's nonsense. That's made up. Bill Cosby never said that. Bill Gates never said that. He was never at a high school graduation speech. These things never happen. And people would get upset and says, well, even if it didn't happen, it's the sentiment I agree with. So I still think it's okay to put this up. And this has become now that the end justifies the means, where people, they don't care that they're lying. And we have all these massive fake news articles and fake stories, these crazy things out there. Mel Gibson's talking about revealing about vampires and pedophiles, and Macaulay Culkin's revealing about, and it's all just completely made up with nothing at all, and we're in trouble, man, because half the people believe this stuff. They don't dig past the surface.
They don't want to. And here's the crazy fucking thing about you bringing this up.
Yeah.
I'm a cousin. So I'm taking these classes, and I've been telling Steven, I've been telling other people, it is hard because I know the truth, and they are shoving lie after lie after lie. Like every paragraph I'm reading some bullshit story about that I already know is not true. But it's in there, and they mean it. That social law has become more important than the law, than justice, than the Bill of Rights. So whatever society thinks is the law, whatever society thinks is okay, whatever society's put there is not, the law is. And that is not good. Because just like we said, society doesn't even really know what's going on.
Yeah.
They should be the ones making, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I have great respect for the law, and it's taken us this far, and respect for courts, and it's more, we're in a really bad time, and things happen so fast nowadays too that you can't keep on top of it.
Well, that's not the thing. Don't people. I mean, this is criminal justice, and I've done criminal law for now over 10 years, and basically, the reason that I'm doing something different, and the reason I'm going into politics, and the reason that I'm going into lobbying and different things, is because I realize that in criminal law, you can get as much justice as you can afford.
Yeah.
And being on the side of that, I also did see, and I have to be honest about this, I never truly I saw a lot of punishment, but I never saw an innocent man go to jail, and I never saw a guilty man not go to jail or not be punished, I should say. And the punishment they don't go to jail is obviously a financial punishment that's way outside most people are spending. And so it's, to me, somehow the base of it should and can work, but it's been so manipulated and so overtaken by greed and power. That's, again, it's not that those are just masculine, but if you look at Mother Hubbard, you don't think those things.
Oh, Mother Hubbard was responsible for putting her children in a shoe. She charged with child abuse. It was just as bad as when those couple out in California with the 13 kids. If you look at it.
Hey, it's like Cleaver. Oh, Miss Cleaver. What the hell? June Cleaver.
Yeah, June Cleaver. Okay, she was cool.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
She ran her little heels all the time.
Hey, you know who I had on my show? That kid, Scott Schwartz, the kid from A Christmas Story who was licking the pole and his tongue got stuck to the pole.
Oh, my God. What did he have to say?
Well, because I had him on because he's friends with Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. And he came on the show basically they had a dispute with Corey Feldman about basically that, Feldman's full of shit. Which oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
No, tell me.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? You know what? That whole story's full of shit on both sides. I spent a good 60 hours looking into that. I was contacted by Corey Haim's mother, Judy Haim, and I put her in touch with a lawyer, as a matter of fact. A lawyer who I refer a lot of people to. A very qualified lawyer who's an excellent entertainment lawyer in California that I refer a lot of people to, who knows how to get the job done. Is a top-notch lawyer. Okay. And so for some reason, the case didn't advance. But she basically, her story is that Feldman's full of crap. He was never really friends with Haim. They weren't friends at all. And there's a lot of stuff, too, that Feldman was pivotal in a situation that got Haim molested. So I started off with her. Then I started interviewing all the Corey Feldman angels, these women who he brought in and had them sign these non-disclosure agreements. I had two of them on my show, but I talked to another 5 off the air for hours and hours and hours. And they were on his Corey Feldman band tour with him, where they weren't fed and they weren't paid. They got ripped off. They were sexually harassed. There was drug use going on galore over there and all kinds of manipulation, intimidation. I interviewed the bus company driver in that whole situation too, and also too Scotty Schwartz, who was friends with Haim. They really never had a friendship. Haim and Feldman never really had a friendship. What I've concluded after looking at that whole thing is that there's a lot more going on than this surface thing you see with the Corey Feldman's gonna out pedophiles and he needs $10 million to do it. That's nonsense. Okay, he doesn't need no $10 million to begin with, and there's no way that $10 million is going to go to any exposing anybody. I think people on both sides are being paid off. Well, what I know for a fact is, because I treat a lot of these girls' attorneys and help them and stuff like that, and they all had to go back and check with somebody who was higher up down the line, who was pulling the strings on the anti-Feldman camp, you know. But also, too, Feldman's definitely a pervert himself and has all kinds of shenanigans going on in his life there. And I don't think he has a decent relationship with anybody in the world. A lot of using and taking advantage of people. So that's my conclusion on the Feldman Haim thing. And I got about 4 hours of on the air time. But like I said, off the air, I spent a good 40, 60 hours on that whole thing.
Well, I don't think that it's unrealistic to see if somebody's really interested in outing something as horrific as what he's claiming. $10 million, like you say, you wouldn't need any money for that.
Yeah, right.
I agree, but when people see that, then your average, again, Joe Schmo, doesn't that then take away the validity of things that are really happening?
Yeah, that's a problem too. And also too, what happened in this whole situation as well is some quote unquote anonymous video comes out where with all kinds of just total nonsense and bogus information, which is just all crap. I spent a lot of time talking to these people, like I said, and I, helped them with lawyers and stuff. So there's disinfo on both sides coming out, and there's manipulation on both sides. And I think people are getting paid on both sides. People are getting money on both sides to advance this whole thing. But I don't trust one of them in a whole bunch. I do. I trust one of them. One of them, Poina, who seemed like a legitimate person. Just things are going on beyond her understanding. And the bus driver too. I trusted him as well.
I guess I have to wonder, and maybe this is too far-fetched, but you look around and they're going through a lot of survival. It seems like whistleblowers especially, and I don't know about you, but this last year, 2017, I got my ass rocked. I'm just now kind of coming back. And that was part of my decision in going back to school and really putting my heels into the direction I'm moving. I think a lot of people did experience that. I mean, it's not just me. I mean, it's even still, I can't really do thanks. I have to be very careful. I have to manipulate things, change my passwords all the time because my stuff gets so fucked up anytime I try and use anything through the money system or I mean, even you may think I'm crazy or whatever, but the black actors that everybody's like, they don't exist. Well, they fly over my house, not every day, not every month, but enough that, even every other month. And they're low enough. And other people see them, they're like, wow, what's that? There's no marking. They just assume that they're cops. But when you look at the police helicopters, they have the white writing on the back that's like the number, what department they're, all of that stuff. And do I know who they are? No. Do I know that they're looking at me or have anything to do with me? No, they may not. But it sure seems odd that we have, then again, like we have chemtrails and we have things that we know are going on. Nobody's doing anything about it. Everybody's just like, oh, that's the way it is. The fuck? No, it's not. Like, why are we tolerating this stuff, Ed? I mean, chemtrail, like I watched 2 days, the sky was completely clear here. And no chemtrails. Nobody was having sinus issues. The sky was beautiful. It was warm out, blah, 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 which it shouldn't be in the middle of July, but we're not going to that. The next day, the sky is covered with trails. And everybody's got sinus issues. Everybody's got stuff going on. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so obvious.
Listen, I've noticed in these chemtrails since, I guess, before I left New York, so I guess about the 90s, right? But I'm not convinced that we know what's in these chemtrails or what's causing them or anything like that, or even how people claim they know that there's aluminum and marine. I can't understand how they would know what's in them, because you'd have to fly up to that level with balloons or something that captured. There's too much involved in capturing the samples, and also too, you understand. When you say, well, we see chemtrails overhead and then it causes illness down on the ground here, it would take days for that to settle down to the ground. And by then it would be blown miles away. So I can't see a situation where you would look up in the sky and see chemtrails and then it would, days later, you'd feel it because it would be miles away by then. So I don't know. I don't know what's in them. And I don't know. I've never been convinced that somebody else knows what's in them either. I've seen them since, and there's a lot of big X's and circles and stuff like that. But I don't know what's in that or what the motive behind it.
Okay, so this is where I got my information. Is it accurate? Is it, well, it is what it is. So I'm just going to tell you. In the state of Colorado, they have a place here where you can buy cloud seeding, right? And so I started looking into it because I'm thinking cloud seeding, and it's been around since the 50s and 60s. And basically, that's where they're getting the cloud seeding chemicals that they're putting into the air to create supposedly water, snow, weather, whatever it is for that day for you, or eliminate clouds, or whatever it is that you can do. And you can purchase this. I'll send you the website. That's where they're getting the chemical listings. And that's where the huge amounts of aluminum and all these other things. Well, then you find out that through that same website, because it's mandatory or whatever, that they publish the controversy or whatever it is. You have these farmers that are coming in and saying that their soil is testing higher than ever in these same ingredients that are in the cloud seed. Now, I'm not a freaking scientist. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not. So I don't know. But it seems weird to me that they would put things, I don't know. It just seems weird all the way around.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. Something's going on. The thing is, as a, been a forensic investigator for a long, long time. Like the first office I was involved in, the fingerprint and ballistic, all different kinds of crime, all different crazy for. I can imagine how would he start to this report that whatever's in the soil came from these behind these planes. You know what I mean? It would be like a monumental task that would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to pull that off, to come up with it, to come up with that.
You would, because you would have to basically
follow the plane,
chemtrail, infrared, or whatever fuck thing you could buy that actually followed the trail of the chemicals.
Exactly. You'd have to know when it was going on and somehow get up there with not even a plane, because a plane would be too fast. You think there would balloons or something and capture this. And I if someone's done that, I'd love to see it. I see all these different videos and stuff like that, and nothing's really impressed me. Knowing what the thresholds are to prove this kind of stuff in court. So I can't imagine. But then again, you hear people like what's his name, Al Gore admits it and stuff. Then it's admitted in Congress. So I don't know. Maybe it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree, and I think I do believe about it. But the reason, I mean, they also come out, and I do think I think that there's always more to the story. I think we know nothing. I think that and this from somebody that's outside of the circle, they said the chemtrails were actually created to, and I'm actually going to botch this. I think if I'm understanding it right, is basically to prevent global warming, to stop certain things that are happening on the planet because it's starting to get hotter instead of cool. I don't know. I really understand it, but basically that the government or these guys, they're doing it for the purpose of the people, to help everybody, to fix things that stuff.
Yeah, all these things. Yeah, but yeah, we don't, like I said, we don't know. It could be they don't want us to see. Maybe the sites up there are UFOs they don't want us to see. There are a million reasons for this. We have no idea what it is, or but and until there's really an effort made to really, come up with some exhibits that can be used in court, and we have a ruling on it, then it's just yeah. Then it's just.
Here's my other question. Yeah. So we don't have very much time left. I know you're going to leave after the first hour, and so. Yeah. I want to ask you about aliens.
Okay.
Because the thing is that, so and this was within the last month, I come outside. Well, actually, I was called outside because a friend of mine was leaving. They're like, holy shit, get here. And literally, there was a bomb lights blinking in this city where it could have been large individual planes or something, but through it. And basically, it was moving so slow. It was, and then I tried to take pictures of it, and I'm not techie at all. It ended up looking ridiculous. But then I got online, and it was all over the place. So people had seen it. It wasn't just me. And a couple of other people that I know, actually, again, they also witnessed something weird. I'm not saying that it's aliens. I don't know what it is. But, the guy that was there was like, it's helicopters. I thought, well, if you had that many gosh dang helicopters, you would definitely hear it. That close, as close as it was. And there was zero noise. It was silent. Even a plane you'd hear at that level.
Okay, so we only got a few minutes. I'll tell you a story all the time.
Okay.
I used to live in Staten Island, and I was about 19 years old. I had a little studio condo that was right across by the largest landfill on the planet. They closed it up at 7. And I was lying in bed one night, and I got in, and I see this big giant. The Staten Island Mall was right up the street. It was the size of the whole Staten Island Mall. And you could barely see it through the clouds. And just to give a description, it's like, the Batman symbol when they would light the Batman up on the cloud to signal that. It's sort of that shape, but with two big lights sort of like on it as well. Not blinking, like two like engine lights. And it was up there stationary. And I remember staring in terror, staring at this thing for as long as I could, kind of frozen in my bed, looking through the window, looking up at this thing until, I fell asleep.
Holy crap. I mean, what is that? Well, those are the things you have to start to question. Okay, so are we... Well, is it the government?
Well, right. It could be the government. It could be another planet. I don't know. I have no idea. But the thing is, I started talking my side of it. Well, it was a dream. It could have been a dream. It could have been, like you said, our government, another planet, whatever, right? A couple of days later, no, it was the next day. I was downstairs by the mailboxes, and someone had left a note on the chalkboard, right on the thumbtack board there by the mailboxes, and it said, "Did anybody else see that huge UFO last night?" Right. So I know I'm not the. It wasn't a dream. Someone else thought, maybe two people had the dream. Like you said, there's mind control things going on. Maybe we're all bombarded with this dream thing that makes a dream. We don't know. It's unknown, but it's an experience that I had where I saw something. I can't explain it. It could be anything. Who knows?
I mean, I think, and I was really, to be honest with you, I was very disappointed during the last huge eclipse because I really thought that there was going to be aliens. I think I told you that before. I keep having this feeling, the space program, not supposed to, I think that will do with travel. A lot of the space program that is talked about through conspiracy, especially Gaia TV, things like that are discussing and really talking about, and supposedly, like I said, I'm not there, I don't know, but how these secret space programs are where these trillions of dollars that the government just seems to somehow lose, that's where they're actually going.
Well, I'll just tell you this. Gaia TV seems to be the Wilcox character. I could not give these guys any possible leak credibility. Okay, I could not think any less of their credibility than I do. I would take a word that they had to say with any kind of significance and give it any kind of give it the time of day, 5 seconds.
I mean, why is he so prevalent in that movement?
I'll tell you what.
I mean, he's like the main guy.
I've seen firsthand that these characters, they have like a filter, man. They're bringing in the most gullible people that they could find into their arena. Just like, you have search engine marketing and search engine optimization. You're trying to draw people in. They only want the most gullible suckers out of that they could find who would just believe most outlandish things to be their fan base. And there's definitely funding behind them too, because how do they advertise all this stuff? How do they get things to go viral stuff? There's some nonsense out there. But some of these, I could testify in court with exhibits that they're absolutely full of crap and that they make things up, these hoaxes, and they perpetuate these hoaxes. And after you warn them about it, they know about it, and they continue perpetuating. Like I said, in court with exhibits.
So, I mean, don't take this wrong, but don't you feel obligated to bust them out?
You know what? Yes and no, because it's just a distraction. I got to stay focused on what I'm doing. All the nonsense is a distraction, and then I'll just get caught in a back and forth with these nuts, and you got all these trolls on, they'll start and draw me into their fantasy world and their craziness. And that's the last thing I need. That's just even harms my incredibly more.
Which is true. Yeah. And that's, I feel like, okay, so I have one last question. I know we only have 2 minutes, but this is, I've always wondered this about your opinion on this, and I've never heard you do a show on it or talk about it. I'm not saying you haven't, but
okay.
What about the flat earth?
Flat earth? I think this is, I think we're in a time where people are just believing anything, and a lot of it can't be by accident. It has to be sponsored and promoted behind the scenes by whatever forces are just out to. And we're almost degenerating back to a time of the Stone Ages where people are sitting around a fire saying, "Hey, if I throw this cat up in the air, it's going to cause the moon to fall." Like just superstition, just beyond any reason, and just gets repeated over and over. And we're in a horrible time for people who have sensibility and critical thinking.
Well, it's definitely not something, and that again, we were just talking about the chemtrails and all these other things. Again, I'm not going to say that this is true, but one of the things that I had heard when I did an interview with somebody who was claiming that they knew it was true was that the purpose of it was to dumb people down.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people, they want them stuck to their phones. They want them connected so that they can be connected to them. But they don't want people growing their own food. They don't want people doing their own thing, thinking for themselves, even in an aspect of our job societies. Having teenagers go to school at 7:15 in the morning when every statistic on the planet, every study scientifically and otherwise is showing that a teenager really shouldn't be functioning until almost 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? It's a constant.
I do know what you're saying. And if you look, here we have a so-called alternative media where we're trying to wake people up and trying to inspire them to resist the oppression that we live under. And if you look at what is the solution offered for this resistance, what is offered to these people out there who are trying to be awake and they want to do good. They want to reveal things. They want the truth to come out. And what is proposed to them? Well, you should buy gold and silver. Is what the advertising are. Invest in gold. Some you can't really use and can't exchange it in life. You can't use it to invest in businesses or property, right? And the other thing is, well, buy storable food and sit there and dig a hole in your backyard where you'll be safe in this giant hole. Now, if I was running the oppressive government, well, what I would love to do is get the cash out of these people's hands and give them some little pieces of metal to play with and have them sit down and bury themselves in a hole in their backyard and eat their storable food. Because that's what's being presented to them as their method of resistance to the oppression we live under. And it's a brilliant game. And sometimes I wish I was on the other side. Okay. But let's bring.
Okay, go. Okay, sorry.
Oh, Steve, where did he go? What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say that it seems like me, you are right. Because when I said this on air, we should not be living in poverty. we should not be the ones who are not excelling, and I'm not saying in greed that we be rich, other things. The way that our society is set up is those who are truly contributing are the ones who are suffering. And that's extreme because when we're suffering, there's a lot more going on the planet, but it is something that is suppressed for a reason. And so that has to be looked at. And I think people really do need to somehow, on some level, at least able to hear and analyze themselves what is going on around here.
Yeah, I hear you. And we have to be careful of the sources that are giving us our information. Back to the gold and silver thing. I've talked to those sponsors. I've tried to get those sponsors to sponsor my show. And what they tell you is, okay, but you got to keep harping on the coming global collapse. That there's going to be an economic collapse. And you got to say it over and over again because that's what makes people go buy the gold and silver. Okay? So, yes.
And then you really think about it. This is what I was thinking in my mind. And maybe I'm just crazy, but I'm thinking to myself, if you have an economic a complete collapse and everything goes to shit, and you have a whole bunch of gold and silver, and your neighbor has some seeds that he's going to sell or whatever,
or guns,
or whatever, you think he's going to take gold or silver? Or is he going to take bread and corn and wheat or a dog? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me.
I hear you. Steve Roberts says, take our break. So I'm going to play some music here. Give you like 1 minute, and then we'll bring Steven.
That sounds great.
I love you, Sherry. Thank you so much.
Well, it was fabulous. As always, thank you.